friends, happy Wind Down Wednesday. I'm so glad you're here with us this evening. Find someplace cozy to sit and we will get started. This evening we're going to be reading two stories that are from the same series. The books are considered one character series. In this type of series, there's one main character who is the focus of every book. So, for example, Diary of a Wimpy Kid or the Olivia picture books are examples of series that have one character that is the main focus. So today we're going to be listening to two stories that have the same main character. The story that we're going to be listening to first is Corduroy. It's by Don Freeman. And then we're going to be listening to A Pocket for Corduroy. Let's start with Corduroy. This is one of my very favorite books when I was your age. To Sally Elizabeth Kildow and Patrick Stephen Duff Kildow, who know how a bear feels about buttons. If you have a favorite stuffed animal, this would be a fantastic book to listen to with it. So if you want to pause the video and go grab your favorite stuffed animal, do that now. Corduroy is a bear who once lived in the toy department of a big store. Day after day, he waited with all the other animals and dolls for somebody to come along and take him home. Point at Corduroy. There he is. The store was always filled with shoppers buying all sorts of things, but no one ever seemed to want a small bear in green overalls. Then, one morning, a little girl stopped and looked straight into Corduroy's bright eyes. "Oh, Mommy," she said, "look, there's the very bear I've always wanted." "Not today, dear," her mother sighed. "I've spent too much already. Besides, he doesn't look new. He's lost the button to one of his shoulder straps." Have you ever had to be flexible when you heard feedback from a grown-up that something couldn't be bought? Corduroy watched them sadly as they walked away. "I didn't know I'd lost a button," he said to himself. "Tonight, I'll go and see if I can find it." Late that evening, when all the shoppers had gone and the doors were shut and locked, Corduroy climbed carefully down from his shelf and began searching everywhere on the floor for his lost button. Suddenly, he felt the floor moving under him. Quite by accident, he had stepped onto an escalator and up he went. Have you ever been on an escalator? Could this be a mountain? He wondered. I think I've always wanted to climb a mountain. Is he on a mountain? He stepped off the escalator as it reached the next floor. And there, before his eyes, was a most amazing sight. Tables and chairs and lamps and sofas and rows of beds. "This must be the place," Corduroy gasped. I guess I've always wanted to live in a palace." So is he in a palace? Or the furniture section of the store? He wandered around, admiring the furniture. "This must be a bed," he said. "I've always wanted to sleep in a bed." And up he crawled onto a large, thick mattress. What do you notice is on the mattress? All at once he saw something small and round. "Why, here's my button," he cried, and he tried to pick it up. But like all the other buttons on the mattress, it was tied down tight. He yanked and pulled with both paws until pop! Off came the button, and off the mattress Corduroy toppled. Bang! Into a tall floor lamp. Over it fell with a crash. Corduroy didn't know it, but there was someone else awake in the store. The night watchman was going his rounds on the floor above. That means that the security man was walking around, making sure that everything was safe. When he heard the crash, he came dashing down the escalator. "Now who in the world did that?" he exclaimed. "Somebody must be hiding around here." He flashed his light under and over sofas and beds until he came to the biggest bed of all, and there he saw 2 fuzzy brown ears sticking up from under the cover. "Hello," he said. "How did you get upstairs?" The watchman tucked Corduroy under his arm and carried him down the escalator and set him on the shelf in the toy department with the other animals and dolls. Corduroy was just waking up when the first customers came into the store in the morning. Have we seen this customer before? And there, looking at him with a wide, warm smile, was the same little girl he'd seen only the day before. "I'm Lisa," she said, "and you're going to be my very own bear. Last night I counted what I've saved in my piggy bank, and my mother said I could bring you home." "Shall I put him in a box for you?" the sales lady asked. "Oh, no thank you," Lisa answered, and she carried Corduroy home in her arms. She ran all the way up 4 flights of stairs into her family's apartment and straight to her own room. Give a connection wiggle if you live in an apartment. Corduroy blinked. There was a chair and a chest of drawers. And alongside a girl-sized bed stood a little bed just the right size for him. The room was small, nothing like that enormous palace in the department store. "This must be home," he said. "I know. I've always wanted a home." Lisa sat down with Corduroy on her lap and began to sew a button on his overalls. "I like you the way you are," she said, "but you'll be more comfortable with your shoulder strap fastened." Oh, she's really listening with understanding and empathy, thinking about what Corduroy needs to feel comfortable. "You must be a friend," said Corduroy. "I've always wanted a friend." "Me too," said Lisa, and gave him a big hug. The end. I'm excited to read the next story in this series. It's called A Pocket for Corduroy, and that's why I'm wearing a shirt that has pockets. Do you have a shirt or pants with pockets on it? A Pocket for Corduroy. A Pocket for Corduroy. To Takako Nishinoya, who knows how a bear feels about pockets. Late one summer afternoon, Lisa and her mother took their laundry to the laundromat. As always, on such trips, Lisa carried along her toy bear, Corduroy. Give a connection wiggle if you've been to a laundromat. That's a place where you can do your laundry. The laundromat was a very busy place at this hour. "Now, Corduroy, you sit right here and wait for me," Lisa said. "I'm going to help with our wash." Oh, she sounds like she's very responsible. That reminds me of the 3 to be at our school: safety, respect, and responsibility. Corduroy waited patiently. Then he suddenly perked up his ears. Oh, he's about to listen carefully. That's one of our 5 senses. We've been learning about the 5 senses. Do you remember the 5 senses? Lisa's mother was saying, "Be sure to take everything out of your pockets, Lisa dear. You don't want your precious things to get all wet and soapy." "Pockets," said Corduroy to himself. "I don't have a pocket." He slid off the chair. "I must go find something to make a pocket out of," he said, and he began to look around. Should he be getting off of the chair? First, he came to a pile of fancy towels and washcloths, but nothing was the right size or color. Then he saw a huge sack of colorful clothes in a laundry bag. "There ought to be something in there to make a pocket out of," he said. Without hesitating, he climbed inside the bag, which was filled with pieces of wet laundry. The dampness, which means like light, a little bit of wetness, the dampness didn't bother Corduroy in the least. "This must be a cave," he said, sighing happily. "I've always wanted to live in a dark, cool cave." But is this a cave? When the time came for Lisa to fetch her bear, go get her bear, he was gone. "Oh, Mommy," she exclaimed, "Corduroy isn't here where I left him." "I'm sorry, honey," said her mother, "but the laundromat will be closing soon, and we must be getting home." Lisa was reluctant to leave without Corduroy, but her mother insisted. If someone is reluctant to do something, that means that they're hesitant. They don't really want to do that. So she doesn't really want to leave. But her mother said that's what was expected. So that's what she did. "You can come back tomorrow," she said. "I'm sure he will still be here." Put your thumb up if you think put your thumb up if you think Corduroy will be there. Put your thumb in the middle if you think he won't be there. Oh, look closely. What's happening? As they left, a young man wearing an artist's beret was taking his wet laundry out of a bag, the very bag Corduroy had discovered. Before he knew it, Corduroy was being tossed together with all the sheets, shirts, shorts, and slacks. And where are they heading? Inside the dryer. But just as the artist was shutting the glass door, Corduroy tumbled out onto the floor. How in thunder did that bear ever get mixed up with all my things? The artist wondered. Poor Corduroy was damp, wet, all over. The least I can do for him is give his overalls a good drying, said the man thoughtfully. Oh, how thoughtful. He unbuttoned Corduroy's shoulder straps and put his overalls in the dryer. Corduroy grew dizzy as he watched the clothes spinning around, but the artist became inspired. This would make a wonderful painting, he said as he took a sketch pad out of his pocket and began drawing the swirling colors. I can hardly wait to get back to my studio. Finally, the dryer stopped whirling, and the man gathered up the clothes. Then he helped Corduroy put on his warm, dry overalls. All at once, the manager of the laundromat called, "Closing time! Everybody out!" This says soap chips, Swan Flakes. That must be the laundry detergent. Corduroy was gently placed on top of a washing machine. I wonder who that bear belongs to, said the artist as he was leaving. Who does it belong to? Do you remember her name? Seems to me he should have his name someplace. He's too fine a fellow to be lost. Oh, I remember this picture very well. This must have been one of my favorite pages when I listened to this story when I was your age. As soon as the lights were turned off, Corduroy began his search again. He was surprised to see something white glowing in the dark. Maybe it's snow, he said excitedly. I've always wanted to play in the snow. But is this snow? It's laundry detergent. He accidentally tipped over the open-lidded box, and suddenly he was covered with soft, slippery soap flakes. Gradually, which means slowly, Corduroy began to slip and slide. Oh, what fun, he said with a smile. I've always wanted to ski down a steep mountainside. Is he actually skiing? He landed paws first in an empty laundry basket. This must be a cage, he said, peeking through the bars. I've never wanted to live inside a cage like a bear in the zoo. But by now, Corduroy felt drowsy, which means he's feeling tired. And soon he nodded off to sleep. Next morning, when the manager came to open the door of the laundromat, there was Lisa waiting. Oh, she must really love this bear. I left something here yesterday, she explained. May I look around? Certainly, said the manager. My customers are always leaving things. Lisa was searching under the chairs and in back of the washing machines when she heard the manager call her. Is this what you're looking for, señorita? Señorita means miss in Spanish. Yes, yes, he's my best friend, shouted Lisa as she came running. She reached in and picked Corduroy out of the basket. So this is where you've been, you little rascal, she said. It's time I took you home. Lisa thanked the manager and ran out the door and down the street, holding Corduroy tightly in her arms. Hearing that word manager reminds me of a special gift that we made for the dads that are in your life. We reflected on all the ways that your dad is special, and many of you mentioned that your dad has the job to love and care for you, in addition to being a manager for some of their jobs. Since school will be over by the time Father's Day comes around, I hope everyone has a wonderful Father's Day. Thank you so much for all of your partnership in your child's education. So again, Lisa thanked the manager of the laundromat and ran out the door and down the street, holding Corduroy tightly in her arms. I thought I told you to wait for me, she said. Why did you wander away? I went looking for a pocket, Corduroy said. Oh, Corduroy, why didn't you tell me you wanted a pocket? Asked Lisa, giving him an affectionate squeeze. That very morning, Lisa sewed a pocket on Corduroy's overalls. And here's a card I've made with your name on it for you to keep tucked inside, she said. I've always wanted a purple pocket with my name tucked inside, said Corduroy, as he and Lisa nuzzled noses. The end. Friends, you might have really loved this story. Again, the author and illustrator is Don Freeman. And here's some other stories that you might enjoy that are by Lydia and Don Freeman. Thank you so much for reading this story with me. I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night.